Do you ever feel overwhelmed with the amount of plates that you're spinning? It's kind of like you've got 50 tabs open in your head and none of them are loading quite properly. You just want everything in your head to have clarity so you can start taking action. But no matter how hard you try, you end up spending most of your day putting out fires, responding to messages reactively, and not really getting anything done in your day-to-day. In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how I manage these tasks, the systems that I use to create order from the chaos, and finally take control back of my headspace. If you're new here, my name's Jack. I've been coaching for over 10 years now and educating coaches since 2020. Now, if you're quick at maths, you'll notice that I got into mentoring pretty early. The reason for that is because education is at the forefront of everything I do. I was the nerd in school who actually enjoyed studying, but I found myself loving teaching even more. Over the years, I've helped hundreds of clients and coaches transform their physique, regain their confidence, and find structure in their lives for health and fitness. And I've built a reputation doing so as both a results-driven coach and a trusted educator within the fitness industry. And my mission is pretty simple. It's to become the Gandalf of the coaching world. Someone coaches trust, someone that leads with authenticity, and someone that actually supports coaches in getting to where they need to go rather than just standing at the sidelines shouting directions. Now, speaking of authenticity, here's me being a little bit honest. Not even a year ago, I was struggling massively with my productivity. I would sit down in front of the computer because most of my work is desk work now and online. And I would start one task and find myself very quickly switching to another. And I'd flit and I'd flit and I'd find myself putting out fires. Now, if you're anything like me, I've got severe completion anxiety. So I never really finished tasks because I was always hopping to the next one and constantly changing. But the fact I wasn't finishing tasks was the thing that gave me so much anxiety. So if you're anything like me, it's not a way to live. It's not a fun way to live, especially as a coach. And the thing is, you find yourself defaulting to your comfort zone. And my comfort zone was client management and support. So I would get hands-on with my coaching. I would be delivering check-ins, program design, follow-up messages for clients, education for clients, and that was all fantastic. I was always really happy with my client service, but my business wasn't really moving forward because, as you guys will know, you have to spend portions of your day really focusing on these other areas of your business, the administrative tasks, the marketing, essentially running your business as a business owner rather than just a coach. Now, like I say, my default is to coach, and that shouldn't be left to one side. You should absolutely prioritize your coaching. But if you're anything like me, it's very easy to spend all your time coaching, and the issue with that is your business never moves forward either. So as I do whenever I encounter a problem, I read up on it. I try and figure it out, I try and unpick it and reflect on what the real issue is. And I came to quite an insightful moment earlier this year, and it's something that I don't think is inherently profound, but it made a massive difference to the way I think and operate. And since that moment, I found my productivity and my task management being 10 times better. And here's the big lesson that I learned. Your brain isn't designed to just hold information. Most of us treat our brain as a storage tool. So we consume information and we hold it there and we lock it down. And the problem with that is in today's day and age, we're exposed to far too much information to be able to hold on to it all. And thus we let go of the things that aren't safe, certain, secure for us, and we end up falling into these default patterns. Tiago Forte says it brilliantly. So he's an author that wrote a book called Building the Second Brain. I think it's a fantastic book you should all read. And he says the brain is for having ideas, not holding them. And since I've acted more like this thought process, I found myself operating 10 times better. So from that one simple ideology, I've created like a 3-step system that I find helps me operate on a day-to-day basis for maximum productivity to get my shit done. So step 1 of this system is creating a master task list. So if you don't know what a master task list is, it's essentially your entire brain written down on paper or digitalized. I'm a big fan of using like CRM software or software like Trello or Monday.com to get all your ideas down. Apple Notes still works incredibly well. But you want to take all the information that you're trying to hoard and store that eventually gets lost into the ether of your subconscious, and you want to get it written down so that you can revisit it at a time where it's most relevant to revisit. And this is going to be called your master task list. And you could put everything on here, from administrative tasks to marketing tasks to help personal errands and chores. You can get everything down that you need to. But the benefit of doing this is that you now don't have to hold on to that information and try and remember it. It's like the equivalent of getting up and going to the kitchen and then standing there and going, I have no idea why I've just come here. Right? We want to minimize those moments in the day as much as possible. You want to reduce the moments of time where you're trying to remember what you have to actually do. And this is where your master task list comes in really well. So the second step is that you're going to apply deadlines and sprints to any of the tasks and the ideas in your master task list that you want to act upon. Okay, deadlines are going to help massively when it comes to getting things done. I don't know, again, if you're anything like me, despite how much I loved studying in school, I would still be the person that crams my studying towards the exam period, right? I could not bring myself, if I had 6 months to study for an exam, the majority of that studying would be done in the month before the exam happens, okay? Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law essentially describes that the time we give to a task, we will fill. So if you give yourself 6 weeks to do something, you'll do it in 6 weeks. If you give yourself 6 days to do something, you'll probably do it in 6 days. Okay, so deadlines are incredibly useful for actually taking action on things. If you never deadline anything, it's very easy for things to just stretch out, and suddenly 6 months down the line, you've still not arranged that live event for your clients that you said you were going to do. Okay, putting deadlines on things is incredibly useful. And the other thing we said was sprints. Sprints are really, really useful because actually most people are productive in short bursts. It's very hard to stretch out productivity over months and months. So actually, if you give yourself a sprint, I remember one of the first lead magnets I did was the Fitness Photoshoot Master Plan. I was really proud of this ebook. The original ebook was like 110 pages, but I did a focus group and I had to cut it down to 50 pages. But I wrote that ebook purely from a traveling perspective. So me and the wife were interrailing Europe, and every time we sat on a train, I would get my laptop out and I would continue writing this book. And that sprint period essentially created this 110-page ebook in a matter of weeks, simply because I treated it as a sprint. So you can create massive things, you can create some incredible things in a short period of time if you give yourself an appropriate deadline and an appropriate sprint phase. Okay, and the key thing here is just triage. What is the most important urgent things that need to be front loaded? And what's less important, it's more of a nice to have than a need to have, that you can put a longer deadline on. And number 3 is task management software, but also focus and productivity software. Okay, so I'm not a big fan of relying solely on software to fix all your problems. Some of your problems will be personal problems that you need to sort out your own shit, basically. But something I've helped massively is reducing all the excess noise that you don't really need encountering on a day-to-day basis. So what did we say at the start of this video? Your brain is for having ideas, not holding them. So the issue is the more you consume, the harder it is to create, because a lot of your space is taken up in the things you've consumed. It's hard to have your own ideas when all you're doing is listening to other people's ideas. Okay, so for that reason, I use app blockers on a lot of my consuming apps. So my big ones are going to be Facebook and Instagram. Okay, I'm a terrible user of Facebook and Instagram. Mostly Instagram, I'm not a boomer. Mostly Instagram. So if I have Instagram unlocked, I have a terrible default habit of opening it, seeing what other people are doing, going on my reels, etc. Okay, and that algorithm is pretty damn good at holding my attention. So how I navigate this is I personally use an app blocker called Opal, and it essentially just blocks my Instagram use for certain periods of time. So I cannot use Instagram essentially from the start of the day right up until about 4:30 or 4 p.m. Okay, from 4 p.m. to about 8 p.m, that's when I can use Instagram. So that's when you'll find me doing the majority of my posting, interacting, socializing with people, etc. Okay, but the rest of the time I try and reduce my exposure to consuming that information. And the reason for that is because I want my brain to be free to have my own ideas, to become my own person. It's very hard to be authentic when you're consuming everybody else's ideas. Okay, so please, I would highly recommend, you'll have heard me recommend this before, but use app blockers on software that you are consuming way too much on, and you will be surprised at how much time you save yourself. Right, my screen time has gone down drastically since I started using an app blocker. I've used it now for probably over 6 months, and it has saved me an incredible amount of time. The amount that I produce and create now is 10 times better simply because of that. And the other thing we said is using other task management softwares. So I mentioned these earlier, things like Trello, Monday.com, etc. But task management softwares can actually be really useful in filing your ideas down into a little bit more of a sequenced order. So if you're quite a chaotic person, you write stuff down on paper, you might write stuff on the back of your hand to remember. The issue with doing that is there is no filing system to that. So the idea is there and it exists, and it's great that you don't have to remember it because it's written down. However, how do you know when to do that and when's the most appropriate time? This is where task management software can really be useful. Okay, and honestly, I use Monday.com. I've literally got a training on how to use Monday.com. So if that would be of value to you, don't hesitate to reach out, either comment on this video or send me a DM on Instagram, and I'll literally send you that video for free. How to use a software like that to really upswing the amount of productivity in your creation. Okay, so they're the three softwares, or they're the three steps that I use at the moment to embody this idea that your brain is not designed to hold information, it's designed to create ideas. Now, when you do these three things combined, you'll find that your day-to-day runs 10 times smoother. Coaches struggle, I help coaches all the time that are struggling with task management, being pulled from pillar to post, feeling like their days are really busy, yet they never really move forward or create anything new. They watch other people creating all this amazing stuff and scratch their head and go, how can I not do that? If you do these three things, I guarantee that you will find yourself producing 10 times more content. You go from overwhelmed to organized. And that's what everyone wants to feel, right? We all want to feel that element of organization. We all know what it feels like when you are organized and you stop chasing your tail and you start to think, actually, do you know what? I can spend a weekend off because I've done a lot of the things that I needed to do, right? I want to give you that as much as possible, and that's really what we're running through today in today's video. Now, this is just one small piece of a bigger course that I built for my clients that I've actually created and opened up to everybody else as well, and it's called the Ultimate Work Week. The Ultimate Work Week essentially defines your perfect work week based on your scheduling and your task management to make you the most productive coach that you can be. Okay, if you want access to the Ultimate Work Week, I've dropped a link down in the bio. It is completely free. Alternately, if you're struggling to get access, you can DM me on Instagram with the keyword ultimate, and we can start that conversation and then ensure that you have access to that course as well. Guys, I hope you found this video useful. Let me know in the comments if you've got any additional tips and tricks in how to manage your tasks that I've missed out. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video, which you'll be able to find right here.